Hello guys, welcome back to Writer's Tales, The Last Adventures. Today we're looking at the fifth installment of the series, which is known as Pentagram. So, this is set in Rome in the far future in 2134. And it's basically, Rome is basically a wreck at this point, of course. Dystopian, societies has gone up the toilet really, to be honest. And there's all sorts of stuff, pollution is heavy, it's a complete mess. Roads and streets are completely stuffed with rubbish and everything else. Graffiti, dead bodies in the canal, which is actually just a dumping ground. How to get rid of your ancestors or one of your relatives. Just get rid of a dead body. They dump it in the canal. Really, that's one thing. They just basically don't give a shit really at this point. So that is really what the state of the setting really is. Once we get now, let's get into the proper meet and greet stuff on here. So the Pope is doing a speech, of course, to thousands of people, of course, just to. In order, he's saying that he's stepping down. This is Pope Olivier IV, who's stepping down, of course. But in doing so, during the whole speech, he gets assassinated, and the whole place goes into absolute hysteria and panic, and people don't know who done it. It's so like it just comes out of nowhere. This does, like someone's silently assassinated the Pope in broad daylight. And it's like, interesting. Cut to a couple hours later, the protagonists arrive, of course, looking for, hoping to see what Rome has to offer, really. With Italian cuisines and everything else, stunning views and everything else. That's really what they're hoping. Once they arrive, they're quite taken back, really, about what's happened. Because involving with everything else, and find out the Pope's been shot and everything else, but also weird symbols on the walls, of course. But it's more prominent on the Vatican as well. The Vatican very much has been scribbled with various like symbols in like red spray paint, but they also see some monks going around the streets chanting a weird language. They're not too sure what it is, if it's ancient or is it gibberish or whatever. But there is something going on, and they basically go down the streets, of course, and notice that a cardinal is around doing some shady business, who was part of the Vatican also, but also, and had, sort of turned his back, really, on sort of like, you know what I mean, of course. He turned his back on religion, of course, to find his own means, really, as with some people do, really, to be honest, in sort of that religious self, in that side of things, really. If they keep it covered up, though. So he and his monks go down to a crypt, of course, down to a crypt underneath a church, and they saw Fuller. One thing also they were doing is they found some weird items, strange items, like involving an old chalice and an old diamond as well, involving that. And they do some weird stuff, of course. One of the monks has to kill itself, stab a dagger at itself, and we get the sort of monster of the piece, which is a daemon. The demons or the daemons, which appeared in the Demons back in the John Poe era, and they make an appearance in this story. Rather than one, like Azal was in Demons, there's quite a few of them. So this cardinal, known as Cardinal Pizzi, his name is, has brought forward the daemons into our real world, and wants to create an apocalypse in doing so, because he sees the world now as a shattered affair, and he really wants to do a big reset button of what with the world, and also just plans to become ruler, of course, and also tries to bargain his way with the daemons, of course, selling his soul to Satan, very much that sort of thing. And we get just like moments of apocalypse. We do clouds are going around, rain that rain is turned into blood. Really, it's really bizarre, and demons just go around and there's basically just go around and slaughter people. Of course, it's really just like that sort of thing with they can use their bare hands or use instruments, whatever, You know, it's basically like that, really, to be honest. And it's like, jeez. Strong stuff, you know. It's like, you know, it's like the coming, of course. It's the, you know, it's the coming of the apocalypse. The hellish apocalypse is really just like, you know, and in order to do this, they have to, the protagonist must, you know, hunt down, try and get down the cardinal, try to appease, or maybe change his ways. You know, they've been unsure of how to really go between, you know, because there's a situation like, if someone's hell bent on creating apocalypse, of course, just to, you know, to regain, reset society or whatever, you know, just go like a click of the finger, or do like a, you know, doesn't or go heavily bloodshed on everything else. It's like, you gotta think, yeah, like that, and that's how it works out, really. Indeed, I mean, either try and kill a man, or, you know, try and persuade him just to turn his way, evil ways, really. Of course, stuff gets eventually resolved, of course. So this story in particular, I written for the fan series, of course. So it is, again, comes after, like, you know, with Feast of the Seven and all that sort of stuff. How it came about, though, was I was interested because this is the time where Series 10 was sort of coming out, and I was really intrigued by Extremis, or Extremis, whatever, because it did involve the Vatican, of course, and, you know, that sort of stuff. I was thinking, like, that'd be really interesting, actually, to see how Doctor Who would tackle something like that, of course. And so led to the episode, of course. But I decided to try and do a story that's sort of like, you know, it's quite, it does involve it, but it has like an anti-religious type style to it. Really, something to go against like that. And one idea I thought was like, I basically just think, well, about the Pope gets assassinated in the opening bit. You know, you open with a prelude, and of course the Pope gets assassinated in broad daylight. That's an interesting way to do that. There was original monsters involved, actually, in this one. I forgot the name, of course, but it was just like another demonic creature, really. I forgot the name. Was it Skelner or something? Skelfner or something. It was called. Some just being powerful demonic creature. But instead, I opted to use the demons because I felt like they were an interesting design, like they sort of like devilish goat men, of course. And I thought maybe it's an interesting idea to use them because they look interesting. They only appeared in one story, so I thought, well, they appeared in comic strips and books here and there, but in terms of like an actual sort of interesting continuation for a story, probably be ideal. And that's how it works, really. Indeed. And I always like the idea of just like, you know, go to Rome and stuff like that. I mean, it's partly, some of it's like partly, you know, sort of interesting, inspired by, what's that novel? State of Change, something like that. Like, it sort of had its play in, really. I mean, it wasn't really much of an influence, but it did have its play in, really. So, but Extremis from Series 10 was the sort of catalyst for this story. Very much. Pentagram, it said its name, it really did. It was called The Pentagram. Now it's called Pentagram, really. Didn't want to change the time because it really sort of suited, really, to be honest, I think. Yeah, but that's Pentagram, that is. That's number 5, that is. So, thank you guys for watching. As always, I'll see you for the next video, and see you later.